Welcome to Trial by Wine. We take a closer look at crimes that highlight how fascinating humans can be. Schmidty, Swanee and Clarky visit crimes and run them through their jury of three, debating both sides of the case to agree an appropriate, if totally fictitious, sentence. Please be advised, Trial by Wine may include explicit or disturbing content and will include drunken rambling. Listener discretion is advised. All right, how are we?
I'm great, thank you. And
Very
you?
well, thank you. Very well. There's a lot of images in my head at the moment about cenotes. Do you know what a cenote is?
No.
I know the word.
They're like collapsed caves that are all around where we're going in Mexico that you can swim in, and they've got crystal clear water.
That's right.
Could be fish and turtles and all kinds of loveliness in them.
Josh Gates, my secret naughtiness, has shown me some cenotes before.
Why? What's he found in there?
So they filled up, but at the time that they were being used, they were the Mayans were in there doing horrible sacrifices and whatever. I think he was trying to work out what knocked off the Mayans. Yeah. It was the
so
Mayans,
there's cenotes that they used to sacrifice in, and they look a bit green and yucky. There's one called the car wash cenote because taxi drivers used to wash their car back before people thought cenotes were cool, or Instagrammers made cenotes cool. I mean, I'm sure the locals all knew they were cool.
We should probably introduce ourselves. I'm Schmidty.
I'm Swanee.
And I'm Clarky. And together we are Trial by Wine.
And what are you drinking?
Same old.
We've gone to another bottle of
Big
the
Red Duck Sangiovese, delicious. I think, as I mentioned, we've been travelling a lot and we haven't had any chance to wine shop. So,
you may have mentioned it.
Just once or twice in the last
well, let me know if I haven't, and I'll tell you all about it.
I'm still on the chutneys. Swanee, have you got yourself a fresh DC or?
Oh no, I've got sparkling water now.
That is very beautiful. All right, I'm going to tell a story now. And
Good.
My sources for today are Wikipedia, crimelibrary.com, murderpedia.org, allthat'sinteresting.com, francisfarmersrevenge.com, and listverse.com, which is actually where I first found this, and then I had to do a little bit of work to get
Where'd you
more
find
out
it
of
originally?
Listverse. So it's a website full of listicles.
What are they? Lists?
Listicles?
You know, top 10 this,
that
top
sounds
5
like another
that,
word.
You know.
Oh, right. Is that like testicles are, top 10 tests?
Yes, that's exactly what it's like, yes. Well, the top 10 testicles.
And also, is this about someone that Francis Farmer knew? Or is this...
No, I don't know who Francis Farmer was and why they're feeling like they have to they're vengeful. Yeah, I don't understand that, but it just was one of the sources, so I thought I'd quote it. I'm also going to take us back in the timey-wimey machine, but this time we're going a little bit further. Last episode we were at 1974. Today we are in 1880 when Walburga Barbara
Not 1770.
was born. No, 1880.
Do you know there's a place in Australia called 1770?
Is that when it was founded?
We had our bicentenary in 1988, which was 1788. And 1770 is a place in Queensland. Back to the story.
Is it?
Well, fascinating. Being back in the olden days, it's not clear whether, and I'll say her name again because you're clearly distracted, Walburga Barbara Korschel, whether she was born in Germany or in the US. Her name was Walburga. Well, it's spelled Walburga, but I'm pretty sure it would be pronounced Walburga. Walburga Barbara
Her first
Korschel.
name?
Yes.
Oh.
And so her child would be Walburga Dottier.
I was going to say they got a bit confused with the whole thing and gave her a surname as a first name.
Is she more Walberg than Marky Mark?
She is, I think.
That's why she's Walburga? Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Now, I'm unsure whether she was born in Germany or she was born in the US, but she did grow up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in a community of German immigrants. And basically
that's all that matters.
Because... Yeah, well, they immigrated somewhere very close to when she was born. So she could have been born here in the US, sorry. Like myself, she worked at the age of 12. Though instead of wiring light fittings...
What sort of work was that?
Textile
I
mill.
was about to say where you do work and I thought, I can't say that.
No, I wasn't working there at 12, but I was working in a factory wiring light fittings, but she was working at a textile mill. She got on very well with everyone and people... Yeah, well, pretty much. And people thought she was an attractive young lady. She caught the
Is
eye
this
of the
really
mill
your
owner.
story, Schmidty? This sounds so far
It's not
sounds
my
exactly
story.
like you.
It's a story I'm telling.
Everyone liked you. You were an attractive lady.
Oh, look at you. No, that's about where the comparisons between myself and Walburga
I'm
end,
going
I
to
think.
watch for more similarities, I think, just to see.
You can try, but no, I think that's where it
I've
ends.
got a friend named Francis
She got on
Farmer.
well with everyone. And she caught the eye of the mill owner, who was Fred William Oesterreich. Oh, sorry, Oesterreich. Oesterreich. Though it does sound like ostrich and looks like ostrich, means Eastern Realm and is also the oldie-worldy name for Austria. And he was a German immigrant who was also who was a few years older than Walburga. And at this point, I'm going to introduce the fact that Walburga had a nickname, which I'm now going to call her for the rest of the story, which was Dolly.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
No,
Don't ask
let me
me
guess,
why,
she
but
had no parents?
She had parents, but it's much easier for me to say Dolly than Walburga all the way through the show.
That's why it's not clear where she was born, because she's got no parents. She's genetic. She was born in a laboratory. Dolly
She
the
was
sheep.
not a clone of a sheep. She is a German immigrant. She did have parents, and they sent her out to work. But anyway, Fred liked the look of young Dolly. Remember, she was 12 when she started working there.
No.
And
How
they
long
were
did she work
married
there?
when she was 17. She started working there at 12. It doesn't mean that he was bothering her. Probably he bothered her after her first menses.
I mean, it's obviously
Anyway.
Hollywood, isn't it?
Oh,
I made that bit up. But, it was 1892 at this point.
Anything could have happened.
I know, right?
I mean, I climbed on her sisters, but they weren't as good as she was, so I settled with her.
God. Now, I tried to find out how it was that Fred, who is only 3 years older than Dolly, so he would have been 15 when she was 12 working there, but he was reported all the time as the owner of the mill who hired all these other immigrants. And I'm not quite sure how a 15-year-old German immigrant ends up owning a mill, but apparently he did. And I couldn't find anything on it, so I'm going to assume his parents
He's a high
started the
achiever.
business.
I mean, Doogie Howser was a doctor, so
And if you want to
Yeah.
know how
what a
daggy I
lemonade
am,
stand.
I found the...
How daggy are you?
I'm very daggy, and I found a report.
do tell. I want to know. I want to know how daggy you are.
I want to know how daggy that you are.
It was like the Milwaukee Historical Society had this 100-page document about the history of Milwaukee at the time, and it did talk about having this, Polish and German immigrants and the establishment of the industry of the areas, because I was trying to find
Is
some
this about how
reference
daggy you are?
to who owned this. Yes, that's how daggy I am. So I was just like, it doesn't really matter.
I thought
That's
you were
the
giving
point.
us
But I spent some time trying to work it out.
history lesson.
No, I know. I read a bit of it and then I stopped. Even I have got other things to do with my life. Fred was reportedly either a miserly and Puritan type or a hard-drinking workaholic, or possibly both. The one thing that was consistent was he wasn't well-liked.
Oh.
He was very
Well, he was very
driven.
successful at a very young age.
Exactly, I know. And that
The
comes with some
millmeister.
precious. And the millmeister. He was very driven with the mill,
Fred
and he went around
Millmeister.
yelling at the staff to do a better job and work harder because he was a millmeister. That's right. What happened was that this was offset by Dolly, who was acting as his forewoman, because obviously
Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they were in a relationship. And so she interceded in disputes and she smoothed the feathers of those who were affronted by Fred. Not only was Dolly more socially advanced than Fred.
She was more socially advanced, and she was what? 12? No, sorry, 17.
Well, no,
18.
she's 17 when they marry. So we're gonna move
She's
on
been
from
around.
there. No, just more that she got on better with people. People
Yeah.
liked her more. She also seemed to have a massive sexual appetite and was reputed to have had a slew
And was
of
sleeping
lovers.
with the whole factory.
Pretty much. She was reputed to have a slew of lovers from pretty much the start of the marriage. And I think it's fair to
From
say
the
Dolly
start of
probably...
the marriage.
Correct.
Oh.
Yes, correct. But we don't think that Dolly married Fred for love. Probably more for his money and the respectability of the marriage. But she also was a woman with needs, and Fred just did not seem able to meet them.
Does that happen?
That you marry for respectability.
People marry for money, not for love.
In 1880,
Not in this day and
100%.
age.
Well,
Yeah,
sorry,
but not
again,
nowadays,
in
surely.
1897. Oh, yeah, I think in some cultures people do. I married for money.
I've seen.
Did I say
I've
that
seen
out
the
loud?
story of. I've seen the story. I was going to say I've seen the story of Ivanka Trump.
No, even worse, the other one. Ivanka's one thing, but
Melania.
or
Melania.
Melania's the bigger gold digger.
God,
I
yeah,
ain't saying
true.
she a gold digger, but I am. So they had a son named Raymond in 1900, but sadly, Raymond passed away in 1910. So he was only 10 years old. Very sad. Not sure. He got ill. So probably
Shock.
tuberculosis or
One of
1900s
those
disease.
consumption.
Yeah, that is
Consumption.
TB. Same thing.
Maybe, yeah.
Consumption be done about it. Yeah, no, that is TB. Dolly was understandably heartbroken at the loss of her son. So in 1913, so at the age of 33, Dolly met Otto Sonnhuber, a 17-year-old.
I was going to say Otto Titzling and shit like that.
Inventor and
Brad had nothing to get very worked up about. His adventures were failures. He went to the opera at least twice a week.
Okay.
One night at the opera he saw an Aida, whose bust was so big and rough and impeded. Bug-eyed and off she watched her fall into the pit. Way down by the way of those terrible tears. Oh my God! There she goes! Aerodynamically she goes a mess. Otto eyeballed the diva lying comatose amongst the reeds. When he finally got an idea, he ran back to his butts.
Anyway, can we stop that? Thanks.
That's what happens when you dress me in drag in my younger years.
Yes, Otto Titzling, a 17-year-old singer-sewing machine repairman who had gone to the mill to fix some of the machinery, that's where he met Dolly. And she liked the look of our Otto, who was described as a slight and slender young man. He may have reminded her of her beloved Raymond and asked Otto to come to her house to
Raymond, her son.
to fix her sewing
To be
machine. A ruse and a euphemism.
Oh.
Now, I read one account. Well, actually, I read it in a couple of places, but who knows how we could possibly have this information. So I'm not sure if it was totally imagined or where they got it from, possibly from the film The Graduate. Dolly answers the door when Otto Titzling knocks on the door. Dolly answers it wearing a silk robe and slippers and nothing else.
They're like me in my flannel pajamas.
see?
Hello.
Well, I laugh because absolutely, like
Well,
today,
hello.
the tradies show up. I've got my microfiber jammy pants on. I've got my bathrobe on. I'm shuffling around in my Uggs.
Yeah.
I'm not quite the temptress of seduction of that Dolly was in this set, but I just think, well, I do that sometimes, but not quite the same way. So she leads Otto up to the stairs to her bedroom because that's where she does her sewing.
Like her
and that's
tits
where her
leak?
sewing machine is, right? And while he works on the machine, and that's not a euphemism, he actually is trying to fix this machine, she sat on the bed opposite him talking to him. Every time he looked up, her robe had become a little bit more undone, exposing her lovely lady lumps to his vaginal.
Dolly. What? To his vagina.
Vaginal gaze.
Oh, goodness.
Tony tells the story when he was quite young and not quite as good with the ladies as he is now. There was a woman at work and she was all in white and he said, "You look really vaginal today."
No, just a nasty camel toe.
Yeah, for our listeners, you must realise that Tony, that experience was in 1960. So saying you look virginal today would have got you a slap in the face and in trouble. But in the 60s, it was still disgusting, but he didn't mean anything by it. But it was worse when he said you look vaginal.
Virginal's not disgusting, is it?
Oh, it's objectifying and sexualising women. It makes a fuss about whether you've had sex or not. So, it's shut up. Just shut up.
It's a good point you make. No, it's not a point.
I don't want to get cancelled. I think how many other things I would have said before that would have got me cancelled.
Looking at our ratings, we're already cancelled.
Cancelled.
We got cancelled a while ago. So every time he looks
Cancel
up,
culture sounds so much better with an Aussie accent.
it does, doesn't it?
Do you think that's what's happened to us, Schmidty?
No, I
We've
don't
been
think so. I think we just have a
No,
very
I
select listener base, and thank you very much for
Following,
continuing with us. So her robe comes undone, exposing her lovely lady lumps to his virginal gaze.
Were they lovely?
Probably. Eventually, I'll talk about them later, probably. he doesn't get the hint. So she literally
motorboats in.
Lies back on the bed. No, she lies back on the bed. No. If there was a come hither pose, it's that. And he finally gets the hint and thus starts an intense love affair between the two of them. Otto Titzling would visit regularly while Fred was at work at the mill, and they allegedly got jiggy with it all the time. Otto,
I'm loving the song references.
Saying there was this one time at band camp,
yes,
where they did it at least 8 times in one day.
Wow,
with a flute.
To quote Madonna, my bottom hurts just thinking about it, or at least my perineum. Goodness me.
That's escalated very quickly, Schmidty. This is a very racy story.
Perineum.
8 times in one day. You've got to be sore after that. So Dolly, gagging for it, would cry off work sick and secretly visit Otto, or he would go to her house for their assignations.
I think you need to put a retrofitter warning into this. It's quite racy.
It's very racy.
Make sure you've had 2 coffees before you listen to this, ladies and gentlemen.
Of course, the neighbours, nosy neighbours, kept an eye on things and were a bit suspicious of this young man showing up all the time, and they happened to mention it to Fred. Dolly, when confronted by Fred, shrugged it off, saying that some annoying book salesman had been bothering her, but she told him to rack off, and Fred accepted that.
Take my rack off.
The increased scrutiny, though, did not cool Dolly's ardour. It just meant she had to come up with a more subtle way to access Otto.
And did it make him ardour too,
What do you think she did? Yeah, he was he had the ardour all the time.
Got rid of Fred?
No, she didn't get rid of Fred.
She doubled down and went harder.
Yeah, in some ways you could say that. The picture I had in my head is if you were to cross Flowers in the Attic with the Diary of Anne Frank, you might be in the right ballpark.
So she kept him somewhere. Did she keep him as
she kept him, yeah.
Jesus, she was a hornbag.
Dolly moved Otto into the attic.
It's misery. Dun, dun, dun.
Now, it's consensual. She moves him into the attic of her house, which... I love this. You know how European houses have and big houses have a loft hatch?
Yeah.
The loft hatch for this attic was over a closet in her bedroom.
Perfect.
So the access
was
to
through
this
the closet.
attic is through the closet in her bedroom.
He could
It's like the line
and go as he liked.
Oh, hello, darling.
Arslan.
It's like the line in The Witch in the Wardrobe.
Arslan? Yeah. Who's Arslan or something like that?
Yeah,
What's
Aslan.
the
I think
name of
it's
the
a little less arse, darling. A little bit more
Aslan.
as.
Very confused. Arslan was.
I know Schmidty's got you going,
so
but you're going to need to
embarrassed.
dial it back a little.
I thought, are you trying to pronounce their surname, the ostriches?
No, I had that all wrong.
No. Arslan, yeah.
I thought it was something to do with sign language.
Not Auslan.
It's an allegorical story about Jesus Christ, if you don't mind.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know that.
That's all right. Anywho.
No offense.
If you don't
Good
know.
chat, ladies. Well done.
So, like Anne Frank and her family, he wasn't allowed to make any noise at night, but not because he was trying to avoid capture by the Nazis, because he was trying not to alert Fred to his presence. Now, Otto was fine with the arrangement. It meant he had to quit his job, but he got free food, board and bonks, and it gave him more time to pursue his true passion of writing.
Free food, board and bonks. Is that a new Airbnb slogan?
You're clearly loving the way I wrote
I'm
this one.
loving it. Yeah, you've nailed it.
Also, he was not a social person. So being secluded away in an
happy
attic
days.
with pretty free access to Dolly Ostrich was a pretty good setup for him.
I think he's what you'd call pussy whipped if he's happy to be up in the attic and live up there, right?
I think you're probably right on that one.
Yeah.
It's not even MP, is it?
No, it's like
I don't even know.
WP,
Is it
like
magic?
whipping pussy.
MP is about an ugly person who shocks you that they could get anyone, and yet they seem to be pulling all the blokes.
Okay.
How much older is she than he?
Oh, the math. 16 years.
Right, and what?
Oh.
But she's in her early 30s, so she probably was looking fine.
She's double his age.
Yeah, almost double his age. So Otto Titzling has a bed, a chamber pot, a lamp and paper and pens and some books.
And he's an inventor.
It sounds like you'd leave your kids.
That's all he's got.
Leave the kids to keep themselves
Really?
occupied. Here's some crayons.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some
What does he
paints.
need? What does an artist
He
need?
doesn't need any more. He's a simple man. He's a simple man. That's all he needs. And at one point he was pretty annoyed that being situated over the master bedroom meant that he could hear it when Dolly and Fred partook in conjugal activities.
She was.
God, Schmidty.
He complained to Dolly, but she had to explain that she couldn't really deny Fred his marital rights, even though Otto was her secret naughtiness in the
I don't
attic.
like it when he puts his two-diddy in my cha-cha, but, here we both are.
Apparently she said to Fred at one point, keep it down, someone might hear us. And he's like, who's going to hear us? And she's like, oh, okay.
Oh,
and
she
she's
really?
thinking, just my lover.
Yeah.
Just up there above.
I'll make
above
that I'm
up there.
stowed in the attic.
Yeah. But I think he got used to it and he probably just screwed up some of his scrap paper and put it in his ears so he didn't have to hear it.
Did he soak it first?
Probably. In his own urine.
Oh!
All he had up there. He didn't have
What?
a sink. He didn't have a sink. He didn't have
Anything like that.
Didn't he say
water.
Saliva?
He
I was
literally
doing?
had a chamber
Listeners,
pot.
I was doing
a
very
bed,
clear gestures
and a
about
lamp.
putting the paper in his mouth.
As I said, in his own
Schmidty.
urine.
You're on the naughty mat. That's not okay.
Would have been available. Anyway, just using the resources that were available to him at the
You're
time.
so practical.
So the situation goes on for ages, and Dolly ended up putting a lock on the loft door so that Fred couldn't access it when she wasn't there, telling him it was to protect her furs because he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I want to put my furs somewhere safe. And whenever she and Fred left for the day or night, she'd unlock the hatch so that Titsling could go downstairs and feast on cheese, rye bread and liverwurst.
Feast on
Sounds very
cheese.
Hungarian, actually.
What a feast.
Oh, it would be to me. My
Same here.
Hungarian roots. I'm like, yum. I've got liverwurst
That and some bread. I'd be happy. Rye
and
bread.
whatever else very Germanic
But not
food
your
was in the house.
traditional feast. I mean, you could eat a lot of it. I'm not sure you could feast on it. Where's all the grapes
I
and
think you just ate
the
whatever they had.
legs of lamb and...
He does eat a leg of lamb in the future, don't worry. I'm guessing he was also able to wash and sort out his chamber pot situation when they were out of the house. And he also, this is one of my favourite parts, I'm thinking of getting one of these for myself, did household chores, cleaning, dusting, peeling vegetables, did a whole lot of stuff.
Oh, God, he's
Basically
great.
like
Paying
Living
him?
Maid. She's paying him in food and board and bonks, remember? That's how he's being looked after.
Yeah, no, but I just thought Fred might then have had a reason to...
Fred didn't know he was there.
No, but he's cutting his
Fred
veggies
didn't
and
know he
stuff,
was
so,
He doesn't know that. He's assuming that Dolly's doing it. So the ostriches, or what are they called? Oesterreichs.
Ostriches.
Didn't have any servants, so even though they were very wealthy, so as long as Otto stays in the house, but the whole point is no one's there to see this guy skulking
Right,
around the
okay.
house.
Oh,
That was-
sorry. That's where you're going with that.
There's no one around. So about a year into this arrangement,
Wow.
Fred starts to complain about some odd noises. In an impressive feat of gaslighting, Dolly dismissed Fred's claims of hearing voices, seeing shadows moving, and on one occasion when Fred distinctly heard a man clear his throat, she told him, "You're imagining it. There's no such noise."
No such a
Then,
thing.
on hearing another sound from above and exclaiming, I didn't imagine that," she said, "Oh, it's probably a rat or a mouse. And you know what? The real problem is you drink too much."
Oh, man, it's a
If that
fair
ain't
point.
gaslighting.
It's a fair point.
True. Seriously, though, if there were rats in the ceiling, her furs were in real danger.
Good point you make.
Otto was imagining a life on the South Seas and wrote stories which Dolly posted off to magazines for him in the hope of getting them printed. Clearly, he got a few rejected, like all budding writers, but eventually he did have some printed in some magazines, pulp fiction stuff, which cheered him up an awful lot. Now, I work with a guy who says never let the facts get in the way of a good story. And some accounts I read had no references, so I don't know if they're true or they're embellishments. So for the sake of this next bit, let's assume it could be either, but it certainly makes for a good story.
That's the main thing.
I'm just saying, who knows if this is true or not. From an account by Alan Hind, whoever he is, one night Fred was out in his garden, and when he looked up at the attic, what do you think he saw?
Otto tossing off.
Otto Titsling, inventor and Kraut, standing at the window.
Did he have something to get very worked up about?
He did after this. The men locked eyes and then Otto jumped back away from view. "God damn it," Fred yelled as he raced into his home. "I knew somebody was up there in the attic. I just saw something moving at the window." "All right," Dolly said. "I'll go up to the attic and investigate." "I'll go up," her husband said. "I'll go up," Dolly repeated.
It's going to be a fight. Fight.
No, they didn't fight. He's just easily bossed around by the look of it. When she came back down, she expressed concern for her husband's mental condition. "Fred, You've been working too hard at the
domestic abuse.
I can't.
Can't do your Austrian accent.
I'm just trying to think of how to do it.
Oh,
Yeah,
she's
German.
German.
Oh, mein Handy.
Oh!
My problem with a German accent is it always sounds very homosexual. Oh, Fred. Have you never heard Stephen Fry do this?
Mein Handy.
No.
Oh,
I
mein
love
Handy.
Stephen
It's
Fry.
like, where's my phone? Oh, mein Handy. Mein Handy. Fred, you've been working too hard at the factory, she said in a caring voice, not Stephen Fry's voice. You're seeing things. Promise me you'll go to a doctor. Fred agreed, and he went to the doctor, who told him to take things a bit easier and gave him some drugs. Yeah. So she just gaslights him the whole time. Otto lived in the attic for around 5 years, writing his stories, sneaking around, and continuing his love affair with Dolly. And if I haven't made this clear, he literally cannot leave that room while they're in the house. When she's at work or Fred's at work and she's home, he's downstairs bonking her. If Fred and her go out, he gets a bit of a chance out. But otherwise, he's pretty much trapped
Does
in
it
the
go a bit
situation.
cray-cray?
No.
He just
Is there a
loves it.
toilet in the attic?
He's good. He's got everything he needs.
It's got a chamber pot.
No.
So one night in 1918, Fred and Dolly went out for the night, but they ended up having a fight and Fred went home early.
Uh-oh.
He found Otto eating food at his kitchen table. In fact,
Feasting on
Clarky,
cheese and bread and liverwurst.
a leg of lamb.
Oh,
Feasting
that's
on a leg of
I
lamb.
knew there was more. I knew it. You can't feast without a leg of lamb.
There is no way that we could have another person in this house if they were eating from our food supplies and someone not notice within a day. A day.
Really?
Probably half a day someone would go.
Hang on a minute.
Me too.
Because
I
Oh, the
noticed
amount of
everything,
food that we
yeah.
go through and the amount of... Well, as the person who buys it, absolutely.
those
You know what I mean?
glass bottles went very
I think
quickly.
Maybe
that's
they
the
would.
point, though, because Fred wouldn't have been...
Yeah, and he probably didn't have to go to a fridge or do anything like that. They probably had it all
She
served.
served everything
Yeah,
to him,
correct.
so, yeah.
He
and
wouldn't know where
poor old
his
Otto
Otto's
peeled all the
bits
veggies
were.
and probably prepared all the food too.
Yeah.
Aha, so
But
as the
no,
person
Fred had
who
no idea.
buys all the food, if you were to stash some in the attic, would anyone know? Because you could just buy a bit
No,
extra.
not in this household. I say quite regularly I could walk past Tony in a hula skirt with my tits out when he's watching football and he wouldn't even notice me. There's so many times that he just is oblivious to anything I do. There's no way he would notice if I stashed a person in the attic. It's not big enough, I've got to say. We don't have an attic.
person in the attic or the attic? I'm in the
attic's not
market
big
for a new one. It's just not big
I did
enough.
say earlier I wouldn't mind one of these that does all the housework.
Oh.
Anyway, so
I'd love it.
poor old Otto is caught red-handed with the lamb roast at the kitchen table. And, of course, Fred thinks he's just some weird vagabond who's
He's
been
broken in.
scrounging food
Alright.
from them and broken in. So he chucks him out, and he had no idea that Otto had been living in his attic.
Does he really? So he's seen him,
Yeah.
and now he's
He
seen
sees
him
him.
in his,
Throws him out,
and he thinks he's a vagabond.
eating at his kitchen table.
Fred.
Yeah, he thinks he's just someone who keeps breaking in and...
But that would
You
be
know,
what
helping
you're not
himself.
going to think, oh, that's the person who's living in my attic.
Oh,
So that's
Fred.
necessarily
Yeah,
Really
that's
be
right.
good.
But also he's seen him, so maybe he would.
Yeah, but it did
He didn't make
vindicate
the
him
connection,
because
did it?
he
Oh.
said, see, I told you someone's been here eating stuff and doing stuff,
Oh, right, okay.
God, Fred. Sharpen your tool, mate.
Anyway, so as a result of this, though, Otto doesn't feel like he can go back into the attic, understandably.
Really?
Oh, that's
So-
big of you.
Yeah.
Good on you,
Well,
mate.
neither does Dolly. It's like the jig is almost up, so it's
right,
getting
yeah.
too dangerous. So what happens then is Dolly tells Otto to go to California, and she gives him money because he hasn't needed any money up until now because he doesn't go to any shops. So she's been
Doesn't
getting the
work.
money that he's earning from his stories that are being published. She's not been spending it. Fred's
Okay.
mega rich, right? She doesn't need Otto's money.
Okay.
What does she
So
need
she
from
gives
Otto?
Otto his money, his D.
He's liverwurst.
His
liverwurst, yeah.
Hopefully without the cheese.
Oh, I do love liverwurst. No, I love it. So it gets the money that is earned. I'm talking about the actual product liverwurst. I'm not talking
Sure.
about it as a euphemism.
Thanks for clarifying.
Anyway,
Chinese
and then-
liverwurst.
just so you know. So he gets the money from his stories, and then he goes to California because remember they're in Milwaukee in Wisconsin, and he gets a job as a porter in an apartment complex. So he's kind of doing some stuff there. But Dolly, of course, can't deal with this, so she convinces Fred that they need to move to LA.
Oh.
And eventually Fred, who is a little bit easily persuaded by Dolly, agrees.
Dumb, I would say at this point.
And they go off to LA to find a house to buy. And Dolly insists on making the decision on the house as she's looking for one with a
Attic.
That's right.
There you go.
Apparently, it was actually quite hard to find. There aren't many houses with attics in LA.
Right.
And as this goes on, while she's house hunting and looking around, and Dolly and Otto are carrying on their affair, although they're doing it normally now, and they're renting hotels, probably by the hour, the old-fashioned way. So they're out having their little trysts, but doing it like normal adulterous people.
Not in the attic.
Eventually, Dolly does find a nice, large home with an attic on North Street, St Andrews Place. In an
I
affluent
thought you were going to
area.
say, what was that?
That's right.
What was that house when we did the Watcher?
Cecil
What was
Hotel.
that? Something in the
Oh, I thought you
Avenue
said Cecil Hotel. I thought
or the Boulevard.
I thought you were going to talk about the Cecil Hotel in Skid Row.
I think I was so drunk when we did that episode that I probably had a memory block like we were talking about in the last episode.
Let's assume it was either the House of the
can't remember
Watcher
what it
or the
was.
Cecil Hotel.
They set up housekeeping, although that house I'm pretty sure did have an attic. Fred and Dolly move in and set up the house, and Otto moved into the attic, obviously when Fred's not around to notice it, taking his bed, his chamber pot, his lamp,
God.
and his other stuff. But I think the attic is not over their bedroom now, so he's even allowed a typewriter.
Oh.
Because
So
Fred
he can do
can't
his
hear a bloody
stories.
noise.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice.
Yeah, well, he can, because what was happening was he would write the stories in the past, give them to her, and she would type them up for him and send them off to the publishing houses. Later, he would say that he was willing to live cooped up in attics in order to be near the only person in the entire world who cared whether Otto Titzling Sarnhuber lived or died.
Oh.
He went, well, that's probably because no one realised that
He was
Otto
alive.
was alive because he disappeared into an attic.
Yes.
Although I did read that he was an orphan. He'd been adopted by the Sunhubers, and I'm not sure what happened to his parents.
The Titslingers.
The Titzlings.
Titzlingersons, I think, is the
He'd been
right word
adopted
for
by
it. And the Titzlinger
Titzlingers,
daughters.
He then went back to his routine of sexy times with Dolly and writing and, of course, doing the housework during the day, and even made bathtub gin in this time of Prohibition.
bathtub gin?
It's because in Prohibition you couldn't buy gin, so they would just make
Make it in the
Oh,
bath.
just like moonshine.
Ethanol
I thought you meant it was
in the
I thought you
bath.
meant there
Yeah,
was something that
basically.
did at sexy time. Hey, honey, let's do some bathtub gin.
No, well, they probably just had some bathtub gin.
You like make gin with me?
when they had their sexy time.
Maybe they're bath bombs.
Oh, God.
Okay, unbelievably, this now goes on for another 4 years.
What?
So at this point,
What,
Otto
in the
has been
1990s
resident in
now?
an attic of. Not quite, but Otto has been resident in an attic of in various residents for nearly 9 years.
He must be a bit
Is he
pasty.
keeping
He was
diaries?
very pasty, apparently. Yes.
9 and
And Frank's got
he was
nothing
14
on
when he
him.
started.
Now,
I want to read his diaries.
no, he was 17. He was 17 when they met, and
So healthy, this relationship.
So he's
Well,
so healthy.
he's 26.
It's like a reverse Fritzl, isn't it?
Yeah, sort of. This isn't even the crime. Let me get to
I
the
know, I
crime.
know, of course.
What?
Got to get to Murderpedia.
It's just normal life.
This is not the crime. Yes.
Dolly and Fred's marriage had started to break down.
No way.
Oh, that's
I know. With Fred drinking
that's
more and more, and the
sad.
two of them arguing.
That's sad.
Yeah. And in August 1922, things came to a head. The Oesterreichs,
Who?
the Oesterreich,
Ostriches.
had been out for
Oh,
the
the
evening.
ostriches.
I actually looked up how to pronounce it before you laugh at
For
me again,
everyone
Swanee,
who's,
and it
for
is
everyone who's
Oesterreich.
struggling to keep
I
up with
believe you.
Schmidty,
The Oesterreichs,
it's still the ostriches.
or the ostriches, as I like to call them, had been out for the evening and they were fighting when they got home.
Oh, like ostrich fighting, like kicking
Oh, I think he's going to go in and
and
defend
flapping
her.
their wings.
At this point, I think they were just having a bit of a screaming match. Otto, of course, heard the carry on from his position in the attic. He then heard a loud thud and the sound of Dolly screaming, so he thought Fred was beating
No,
her.
but she's punched the fuck out of him.
Actually, she just slipped on a throw rug.
Oh,
No, she slipped on a throw rug. Otto, worrying that poor old Dolly was being beaten, grabbed 2.25 caliber guns and rushed down the stairs
He
because
breached
one gun
captivity.
wouldn't have done the job. According to the stories told by both Dolly and Otto, Fred recognised Otto as the culprit he'd found in his home eating the leg of lamb and flew into a rage, attacking Otto, grabbing for the guns, and then putting his hands around Otto's neck. Oh, yes, oh, yes,
He's
oh,
like-
yes, they both, oh, yes, they both, oh, yes, they both
Reach
reach
for the gun,
the gun. Oh, yes, they both reach for the gun. And, of course, one or both guns went off.
You've done this before.
Yes. And in this, scrabbly state, one or both of the guns went off. And Otto, panicking, pulled the trigger again and again, shooting Fred a total of 3 times, including one shot to the back of his head.
Oh.
Well, that escalated
What
quickly.
a liberty.
Now, Otto believed in his quick-thinking moment that they could make it appear that burglars had intruded into the family home and murdered Fred. He took a diamond-encrusted chain watch off Fred. So it was one of those...
A diamond-encrusted memento from Bruce and Walsh. Do you remember that from Sale of the Century?
Century, I
Barber.
do.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard Bruce and Walsh since. I
I don't even know what Bruce and Walsh are. Were they BMW dealers?
I'm pretty sure
No,
it
it's a jewelry shop.
would have been a jeweler.
I have no idea. Must be a jewelry shop.
No, but wasn't the diamond encrusted memento a BMW memento, or was that something else? Okay.
It might have been.
No, that's
I
if you
don't
got
know.
the car, wasn't it? It was like, wasn't someone just got like a badge? The badge or something, like a
was
pin,
it?
maybe.
And it was diamond encrusted
Oh God.
of Sale of the Century.
See,
But is it
I think I've got
fine?
memory distrust syndrome.
He took a diamond-encrusted fob watch off Fred, locked Dolly in a different closet, not the one that would let... Oh, because we're in a different house, right? So locks her in a closet, throws the key on the floor, and then runs back to his place in the attic. A neighbour had heard the shots and called the police, who arrived not long after. And they heard Dolly's crying out from this closet, and they find the key on the carpet. A few feet from her, they open it up. Chief of Detectives Herman Klein was on the scene at the Oesterreich home that night. He took an immediate dislike to Dolly Oesterreich.
Yeah, right. He's onto her.
She was too immaculately dressed and carefully made up for a woman of 55, in his opinion. What a liberty. How dare a woman of that age look good, look after herself and wear nice clothes? Well, fuck you, Herman Klein.
Oh, Jesus, Schmidty. Anyway,
Ouch.
it's personal.
I know it was of the
but
time,
hang
but
on a
I'm only
minute.
6 years off 55, so I find that highly
Yeah, but it's
offensive.
the 20s, and also he's quite right. So, I don't think you can post-judge him.
All I'm prepared to say about her, because you were asking about her lovely lady lumps earlier, in the photographs of her, I'm assuming when she's been arrested, at age 55, her lovely lady lumps are resting quite comfortably on her
Around
thighs.
her ankles.
As
Yeah,
she-
she's been skanking around since
Yeah, she's-
before pre-K.
I would just say that she's a busty lady and gravity has taken its toll.
No, but also she's
Anyway,
been doing the
so-
do since well before
Betty Boo.
Probably. Now, Herman Klein had his suspicions, but given
Oh,
she
you're
was
not
in
wrong
the
about those
closet,
boobs. Oh, my God.
We have
Trust you to Google it, Swanee. I love it. I've got to see that for myself. Oh, I can't look.
It's in 3 different colours. It's the same
it's a
photo.
fulsome set, isn't it? And it's quite low
They're very
hanging.
low-hanging fruit there.
So the police couldn't work out how she could possibly have done it because she was locked in this.
Because her tits were dragging
so
along
it's a
the
bit
ground. She can barely move, the poor love.
It's a bit of a Houdini type thing. She stuck to her story that the burglars had broken in, killed Fred, and locked her up. And whilst his wallet and cash was still on him, the police ascertained that the watch was gone. Fred's close friend and business associate Fred Kuhn said he was certain a burglar had killed Fred Oesterreich. He was one of the most loved men I've ever known. As far as I know, he didn't have an enemy in the
One of
world.
the most men you've ever
Telling those that
known.
assembled that he and his wife... This is a great close friend
Right.
of Fred's. And to be honest, at this point in Fred's life, he probably
I
wasn't...
just didn't,
Doesn't have
I
one.
just
Didn't have
didn't
anyone
realise you were
targeting him. Yeah.
quoting.
Dead.
No, I'm quoting because you're not listening.
What's that?
As far as I know, he didn't have an enemy in the world. He went on to say, Mr. Oesterreich was probably the cause of me moving here, and now that he's gone, it seems everything worthwhile that was here when he was alive has faded away. It was the greatest blow of our lives when we learned last night that he'd been killed. I'm sure it's just a case of burglary. So the police keep plugging away, but Dolly, they've got nothing, so Dolly just goes on with her life, and she certainly does. She moves again to another place. She told others she wanted to get away from the awful memory of Fred's killing. She moves to a smaller house on North Beechwood Drive. In 1923, in this move, Otto Titzling again moves into another attic. Now, Fred's dead. Yeah, he doesn't have to hide, but he likes an attic. So he goes into it, and also because he's actually killed Fred, he's probably feeling he needs to hide a bit. Yeah. Dolly then tries to settle her late husband's estate and hires an attorney called Herman Shapiro. And, Dolly can't keep a good girl down. Doesn't take long before she takes Herman as another lover.
Are you kidding?
Herman Shapiro. And she's, no.
Oh.
So, also, somewhat ridiculously, she gave Shapiro the diamond watch that was supposed to have been stolen.
The diamond set memento from Bruce and Walsh? What?
That's the one.
You can't just give them away randomly.
Gives it to this property lawyer or whatever. Then she sets about getting rid of the guns that had been used in her husband's killing. And again, this is the third lover at the same time. She starts up with another bloke, an actor, and she's having it off with him. And I'll tell you, she's got stamina. She gives him one of the .25 caliber revolvers and asks him to get rid of it because it was like the gun that killed her husband, but it's not actually the gun that killed my husband. But I don't want the cops thinking that I did it because it's a gun very like it.
I think we need a Me One movement at this time. She's off her tits.
And they are considerable and low-hanging. He went to the La Brea tar pits and he throws this, he gets rid of the gun, right? So later on, he finds out about her relationship with Shapiro and that he's pretty jealous and unhappy about it. So then he goes to the cops and he shops Dolly, telling them that Shapiro has the missing watch.
And he probably did it.
Later on, he then says, oh, by the way, I got rid of the gun too, and tells them where it was. They were able to prove that the watch was the same one that had gone missing at the time of the murder. So they went back to Milwaukee and they actually went to, what's the name of the jewellers? Sorry, Clarky?
Bruce and Walsh.
They went to Bruce and Walsh Jewellers and they were able to
Is this one of your masterpieces?
Bruce and Walsh Jewellers.
What was that, Tony? Delvine, do tell?
Bruce and Walsh had actually sold that watch to Fred Oesterreich.
Ostrich.
Oh, fuck. Ostrich.
There's nothing like a diamond set ostrich to really get things going.
Absolutely. Although Dolly had said, oh, no, I just found it in a planter box. I read planter box and then I also met under the cushions on the couch. So anyway, she's like, oh, no, I just found it again.
Did not.
So they recovered the gun from the tar pit. And the second gun, the next door neighbour who she'd been flirting with, although I don't think she actually slept with that one, had obligingly buried the other gun under the rose bushes. So both of the guns were pretty damaged by the time the police found them, but they were a match for the caliber and the type that had killed Fred. And, of course, the fact that two people said she gave us the guns to get rid of. Also she was a bit of a porcupine. So they arrested her on suspicion of first-degree murder.
A truth stretcher.
She was an absolute truth stretcher. She was definitely stretching the truth about some of these things.
Also a tit stretcher by the sounds of it.
Yes, she was a tit stretcher and a truth stretcher.
But Otto had shot him,
killed,
right?
That's right. Correct. Whilst in jail, Dolly was visited by Shapiro, who by this time was actually a bit over her. Shapiro. He goes, he's not to the prison, he's not really into her at this point. She doesn't really pick up on it, and she says, can you please go to my house and could you please take groceries for my vagabond half-brother who lives in the attic? Mein Handy.
Are you kidding?
So he does. No, he does. And he finds Otto, who's now middle-aged, skinny.
Still
and
skinny.
I keep picturing him as Boo Radley, basically.
What, could he not get out on his own?
He wanted
in the
to, right?
jail?
So he's sort of
But
self-isolated.
how does he eat?
Well, that's why she had to send it. Could you please go and see my vagabond brother and give him some groceries? And he's like, yeah, okay.
Excellent accent too, though. Well done.
Yeah. Mein Handy. It's terrible, I know.
No, it's the best one you've done so far.
So they get chatting. I'm warming up to it. By the time I finish the story,
I
I'll
love
probably
it. Don't get me wrong.
right.
I'd love it.
Well, because I'm trying to go for something feminine. Otherwise, I'll be hasta la vista, baby. I'll be doing Arnie.
Arnold.
Okay. Anyway, so Shapiro meets Otto, right? They get chatting, and Otto, after a little bit of time, tells Herman that he had been Dolly's live-in lover for years, and I've been living in this attic.
But you're her vagabond half brother.
And yeah, look, and I also kind of accidentally killed.
So when
Fred.
she's in jail, she didn't dob him in.
Has he kept this secret for all this time and now he's just singing like a canary? Oh.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of guilt about it. So, of course, Shapiro tells the cops, and Otto was arrested and tried for manslaughter.
No.
That's a shit story.
So, I'm not finished.
Okay.
Relax. The press had a field day with the sensational case. Otto was called the Batman and the Ghost in the Garret. That's
Scatman, and nobody wants to be the Scatman.
I know.
Oh, that's a shit story. What a shit song.
All right.
Batman!
So Earl Seeley Wakeman defended Otto, and he was a shrewd attorney who specialised in defending accused murderers. Otto had, of course, confessed to the killing, but claimed it happened in a struggle over his guns. And I don't mean, his big biceps. Otto pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. Wakeman played on the jury's sympathies by saying that his client had been a tool in the hands of a much older, more sophisticated and dominant woman. My body is my tool. The defendant in the courtroom was no longer the fresh-faced teenage male virgin who'd caught Dolly's eye. He was a sallow-complexioned, to your questions, Swanee, small, plain-looking, middle-aged man.
Hasty, middle-aged.
He had a receding hairline and
sallow.
round, black-horned rimmed spectacles.
He looked like Gollum.
He had a nervous twitch that added to the effect of making him look pitiable. In Norman Winsky's Sex and the Criminal Mind, Otto's testimony is recorded.
His testimony.
Testimony. Otto's testimony is recorded.
It's when I say what I think whilst I'm scratching my balls. That's not nice.
That's right. That's not nice. Sue's now censoring us. Anyway.
All right.
Now I'm going to have to leave that in because it was funny. Otto described an average day for him in the Los Angeles Oesterreich house in the years preceding the killing. I made up the beds, the couple was by then sleeping in separate rooms, and changed the linen about 2 times a week. They loved to sleep clean, and I made the beds I can't do it. And I made the beds for them, and put away their clothes and dusted Fred's clothes because he had some beautiful things. And I would keep them in order for him and dust them and dust his shoes, so he would look neat always. And then I would wash the dishes if he wasn't home, and if he was home, he would wash them, and Mrs. Oesterreich would dry them because I couldn't then. It's all a bit weird, but I think he means
let them drip dry, mate.
And I would get the vegetables clean. And they were clean. Everybody praised her, how clean her things were, and scrubbed the floor and kept it clean.
It just sounds dirty when you say it like that.
She loved to have a beautiful floor and dusted it, Talk about cheap labour.
I've got to get myself an Otto. I struggle to get a cleaning lady.
That's what I said before.
Struggle to get an Otto.
Everyone's telling her, look how clean your house is, not knowing
it's
she's
awesome.
got a bloke upstairs.
But imagine how dirty she was before Otto. Maybe she's just a dirty old mole, and
I don't think it's that. She's rich. She'll have lots of stuff. So but he just must. I can't believe her husband
He's just got nothing else to
it.
do. Also, when he's not in the attic. When I was away from my attic, he testified, the time was so long I didn't measure it in hours. I was frantic until I returned. That's the insight into the fact that he didn't like leaving the attic. He became, a recluse.
Yeah.
Then he talks about how the only way to sort of get his way with her was to use a bit of manipulation, and he'd go on to hunger strikes.
Oh.
No, he'd do it.
Really?
He said
What?
it was sort of defense. I had no other weapon. I did it deliberately. I would go in my attic and I would stay there. I would not come out except just when needed.
It's totally Fritzl.
I just wouldn't eat anything.
It's totally Fritzl.
Nothing sexier than someone who's fasting.
Peace. Maybe it was foolish of me, but I did not. That was my best way of doing it. And she would begin to feel sorry for me, I think, and talk softly to me and bring me food, set it there. Well, now, like in that house, at that little door, outside the door, Wakeman asks. And then she would become not disagreeable, but annoyed with me, and then I behaved myself. By behaving yourself, you mean you did what she wanted you to? Yes, sir, Otto replied. And did that have anything to do with sex? The lawyer pressed. Yes, sir, as a rule.
Oh.
Okay. So, Otto was found guilty of manslaughter. However, the statute of limitations for that offence had already expired, leaving Otto Titzling Sanhuber a free man and me wondering why they bothered to go to trial at all.
For the Ottos.
Yeah.
What about
Attorney
Dolly?
Jerry Geisler defended Dolly. He was young and little known at the time, but very skilled.
And she
the jury
shagged
was
him
quite
and
unable to reach a verdict. But
smacked her tits in his face.
the majority were in favour of an acquittal. In 1936, the indictment against her was dismissed. She didn't actually kill Fred. There was no premeditation. Yes, you could say she tampered with evidence and obstructed justice, but they let her go. Look, just because she was a bit of a hornbag doesn't mean she was that bad a person.
Are you serious?
She didn't kill him. It was, 100%. You're just judgy because she's a sexual woman. Anyway,
You're slut-shaming her.
you are slut-shaming, yeah.
We'll
After
get to
that,
that
they both sort of faded into obscurity. Dolly died in 1961, aged 80.
Too old.
And it was less than 2 weeks after marrying her second husband, Ray Burt Hendrick.
Oh, that was
Hendrick,
quick.
sorry.
What did you say
Harris-
after being married 2 weeks, did you say?
Yeah. He'd been her business manager, and she left everything to him. Otto wasn't even a footnote on the will.
No.
Otto moved to Canada, married a woman, and changed his name, and that's all you can find about him. So he literally just disappeared into obscurity, and I'm hoping that was a slightly healthier relationship.
Oh, you would hope so.
And I don't believe that they plotted to kill Fred. After 9 years of hanging out in the attic, it was a pretty comfy, wumpy situation. I do think that the domestic violence had probably been escalating, and Otto genuinely thought he was protecting Dolly. He was protecting Dolly 3 times and 1 to the back of the head.
Sorry, Schmidty, who was committing the domestic violence?
Fred.
Frank.
Fred was.
Fred. Who's Frank? Fred.
That's so me. Say that.
Free Fred Butter.
Barry. I don't know. The man whose name
Fred
started with
was.
F. Fred.
Fred was a heavy drinker.
Husband.
They used to argue a
So
lot.
Dolly's got her shag living in the attic upstairs, and Fred's the problem. And I'm slut shaming.
She's not beating Fred. She's gaslighting Fred, but she's not beating him. She's not poisoning him. She's not going out of her way apart from trying to just avoid him, I think, and ignore him and get good orgasms from someone else. Anyone else by the look of it. I don't actually have any sentences for them. I just think it was probably an unfortunate situation. Although maybe I would send Otto to a nice sunny place like the Caribbean where he can ride on a beach instead of locked up in an attic.
Yeah, and get some
I don't know
vitamin
if he'd like
D
it.
and
That'd be a nice spot for him.
something nice for him, I think.
Dolly could do probably with a chastity belt just to rest that perineum of hers 8 times in one day, if you don't mind. But yeah, I picked this one because I thought it was kind of weird, but not sweet. I mean, someone did die.
Yeah, the accent was my favourite. No,
Yeah.
I want that.
I like
That
the
was
accent
great.
work, particularly.
Can you do more German stories? Because that kept me entertained for a long time.
Same here. I think you need to do like if Clarky did sort of like
correct.
cruise crimes. I think you need to do dramatic based crimes.
Oh, no. I don't want you to feel like your accent was the crime. I did like
It was really
the accent.
good.
Oh, it was though. Yeah.
No, but I've done way worse accents.
I get it was funny, but to any Germans listening, I apologise. So, any thoughts on a sentence?
Yeah, no, I haven't got any. I can't even understand the crime.
I think it was sort of an accident, although a little gratuitous shooting him 3 times. But then again, it was, heightened situation, so maybe that was a... And I think a .25 caliber pistol is one of those... The police in this said it's a woman's gun. It's not a big caliber gun. It's a very small caliber pistol. You'd have to be right up close to someone.
I realise I'm not a good person, and I know that because whereas it's the last crime when we were in Iceland and I was so outraged by the fact that disservice done to the people who had been made to, what's the word I'm after? To a crime, confess, to a crime they didn't necessarily commit under ridiculous circumstances. This one, I'm like, I'm surprised it got as far down the track as it did. Because frankly, it's like, what? 90? How many years in the end? I was like, good on you all for living together as a love triangle for that long. I think they need to be praised, really. Good on them.
But remember, by
Someone's
the time they
pretty
went
good at
to
it.
trial, he was middle-aged.
Oh, I know.
So he must. There's a time warp that happens somewhere along here, because if he's
When you
met her at
first
17,
started
and then
talking,
it's
I
9
thought you
years,
said
and then he's
14.
middle aged.
And I've lost all track.
No,
Then.
she was 12.
No, there's some kind of time warp, because Fred's killed in 1922.
Yeah, you said 1880 to start with.
And
so that's
when she's born. No,
Yeah,
I'm
so
talking
she's
about
42.
Otto's
It's involving
age.
too much maths for me
right.
at this time of
Crazy
day.
numbers.
Yeah,
I can't.
fair enough. I won't worry
Oh, where's
about
your
it.
abacus?
Everyone's
Anyway,
our listeners are dropping off.
but see, it could be because it could be a fair period of time between Fred being killed and them arresting her, because they had nothing on her for ages. And then she carries on the affair with Shapiro. Otto's in the new house with her in the attic again.
It's more like a moral issue that I have, because she didn't actually kill anybody. That guy was stupid enough to go and stay in the attic. I'm like, he could have left, really. No, she wasn't threatening him not to leave. She was just had a bit of something that he wanted.
It might have been a bit of an Oedipal thing,
Complex, yeah.
There's a suggestion that because I don't know that he didn't know his birth mother, and I'm not sure that what his relationship with his actual mother was. So there could have been a bit of a maternal and sexual thing going on there.
Oh, really?
Oh, get it out of my head.
Sorry.
Get it out of my
yeah,
head.
Yeah. But he wasn't actually her son. So it's a complex. It's one of those Freudian things. And Freud's out of vogue now. We don't listen to Freud anymore.
I think Clarky's got something to say.
I'm going to lose my shit any minute here.
Is it about someone being murdered?
No,
Go on,
I'm
Clarky. He's
shocked.
going to slut shame away.
Yeah, I know.
Here you go.
Oh,
Are you buckled in?
Oh my god! I was going to let loose earlier.
Not at
and
all.
I had
I'm
to
not shocked at all.
breathe, and I had to. My God, this woman is everything that is wrong with society today. And most times nowadays it's men who play that role.
No, that's Sam Newman.
And 100% right. Most time nowadays it's men that play that role, but that role she's playing is the problem with the world. And we're trying to blame the poor bloke who has no safe place, nowhere to stay, who gets sucked in by the person who offers sex and riches and food and locks him in the attic, and he goes for that. She then gaslights her own husband, blah, 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 switch gender roles. Let's move 100 years forward. My God, she is awful, as are so many people nowadays. And I'm not at all taking in gender in this. That role she played is disgusting, and that role that anyone plays is disgusting. And how dare we try to make Otto the problem or Fred the problem? She is absolutely the problem, and I want to take her down in whatever gender role she happens to play.
You're entitled to your opinion.
This is Trial by One.
So I just, no.
So if
Not bothered.
am
I bothered?
But if
Face
she
bothered,
was
me bothered, no
if she was a
bothered, no.
man and he was a woman, he would have had probably 6 kids to her, and that would have created a whole lot of other problems, right? So it's the role that these people play, not their gender, that is the problem, and we need to stop putting gender on this stuff and go, that behaviour is disgusting and manipulative, and that's the problem. It's not the gender. The gender is almost nonsense. It's not yet, and we've got a long way to go still, but until we start calling out the role that people play rather than their gender, we are going to always fail.
That's a fine point, but what you're doing here is you're assuming that Otto was a victim. Otto quite willingly went into that situation 3 different times.
Why do you say quite willingly? Why do you say quite willingly?
Because when he moved to California, he moved back in with her apartment again. Even after Fred was dead, he goes back to the attic.
Coercive control. If a poor woman moves in with a rich man, is he the victim or is she the victim?
But now you're making it about gender.
But you're taking his agency away. He at no point said he was coerced into this.
I'm not making it about gender. I'm saying what happens is that when people have power and have influence, they can make people do strange things. And in the current conversation, we are all about you need to disconnect that, and I see a whole lot of parallels between her behaviour
I agree with that.
and what's going on at the moment. So what I'm saying is
I
that
get where you're coming from.
So do
But
I.
are you
Understand what you're
yucking his yum?
No, I'm yucking her yuck.
Maybe he had a kink for older ladies.
But
No,
also-
maybe he just wanted to fuck old
Now you
ladies.
sound like Sam Newman. My God. Like, this is the problem, right? I'm not yucking anyone's yuck or yum. I'm saying that she's the problem. And we're sitting here going, Fred might have been the issue because he was the domestic violence one, while she's hiding.
Fred was
You said
amazing.
earlier, she's hiding her shag in the frickin' attic, and he's the problem.
I don't think he's got
think
I don't know.
there was
I
a
agree.
domestic violence situation that escalated, which caused him to get killed. But I didn't actually think he was a major issue. She was happy to stay with him.
She was the
She didn't
problem.
intend for him to get
If
killed.
not for her, none of this would have happened.
We don't
I'm
know.
going to sentence her to frickin'
All right, okay.
living with Kathy Bates and getting
Cobbled.
put up in there. Yeah, we're getting cobbled and hobbled and...
All right. Well, sorry for yawning. It is nearly.
Hang on, what are
11
you
o'clock.
sentencing? You can't just move on.
I'm not sentencing. I don't see. I'm not sentencing. I said from the beginning. It's not that I don't see a crime here, but I'm just not where you are on this.
Right.
I don't want to yuck his yum, and I don't want to slut shame. So, I think I've already done enough of that in the way I've told the
if
story.
Sam Newman was a slut and he did wrong things, would you be slut shaming him by calling him out on his bad behaviour? Asking for a friend.
If it turned out Sam Newman, I don't know why we talk about him particularly, but a man had a woman in his attic for 9 years, and she came out and said, I didn't have an issue with it. I liked being in the attic. And I'm a consenting adult. I don't know why I've got a problem myself with this.
Because...
So I don't know why I can't mind my own business and say, well, if she truly feels that way, I'm not going to yuck her yum.
Isn't that coercive control? How many times do we have domestic
Not
violence
necessarily.
situations where people think everything's fine until they realise it's not?
The thing about coercive control is that you feel like you can't leave. Otto never felt like he couldn't leave. He'd never reported that once. And he didn't seem to mind her old fun bags being down around her knees. Don't yuck his yum.
No, she'd given him a better life, right? Because he'd come from a troubled background. Ugh, it's disgusting.
Well, no,
But
he
how
was,
do you
he was
recover
doing
trouble
quite well
She-
being a repairman
he
for
was a
the
reporter.
She
singer.
could have left her
but he was a
husband.
singer- he was
She
a-
could have left her husband and moved in with
Yeah, his
him
own
if she
income.
really wanted that, but she didn't want that. She wanted the money from Frank, and
Correct.
Why would you?
So why is that his problem?
it's her problem. That's what I'm saying. She's the problem. She's getting. Oh, she's.
All right. Well,
double
I'm not
dipping
sentencing.
and- ugh.
I'm
Schmidty,
sending.
where'd you get? I'm more interested in where you got. Don't yuck his yum.
Yeah,
Did you
no,
make that
what-
up tonight? or is that a thing?
No. It's a
No,
thing.
it's a
I've never
thing. It's a
heard of it.
thing, but.
Oh yeah. We talk about slut shaming. It's
We're
not
going to talk
kink
about this
shaming.
off air.
Don't yuck my yum.
And I'm going to come back to this in many future
No, we're not.
podcasts. No, we are.
And I'm going to come down
Oh,
hard.
This is not out. I'm not done. I'm not done.
There's not.
Who's the last of this?
All right. Well, thanks for joining me on Otto Titzling, Dolly
Auf
Oesterreich.
Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen, mein Pet. Mein Handy.
See the accents are the best part. I love that.
All right. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao. Love you already.
Bye.
Miss you already.
Ciao,
Bye.
ciao, bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Fucking hell. That was a cracker.
Thanks for listening to Trial by Wine. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com. Please rate, review and subscribe to Trial by Wine on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support us, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com, Trial by Wine, or visit our website www.trialbywine.com to donate to us. Your support will help us cover many more cases and apply wacky sentences. We really appreciate you listening and hope you tell everyone about us. Our cover art is by John Christo and music is by Beauchamp from pixabay.com.